This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
I'm Heather Branch here with Jon to talk about ways you can be working now to better prepare for your financial future. RetirementSolutionRadio.com is where you can go to begin your own conversation with Jon and his team at J. Hagan Capital. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there or again, find us anytime, RetirementSolutionRadio.com. Is it too soon to start talking about spring and baseball? I think not, sir.
Oh,
it's never too soon.
I mean, pitchers and catchers report next month.
That's right. Oh my gosh!
But I don't know that it's ever too
never
soon.
Too soon to start dreaming about spring weather. Spring is my favorite time of year, so it's never too soon, in my opinion.
Oh, agreed.
In case you missed the news. In case you do not know the name, Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, yes, I know that name.
It will become familiar to you.
It will for a lot of folks.
For a lot of people. And he is sitting atop the list of the biggest contract in Major League Baseball history.
Shohei got paid. He got paid. Yes, he
for
did.
Shohei.
Yes, he did.
He recently signing a landmark deal with the LA Dodgers. Here's the thing. TikTok sports guy's Tim Sinclair, he was going on the record talking about how the numbers are misleading, but it's actually in Ohtani's favor. Mr. Hicks, listen to this theory. I believe it's right up your alley.
It's a $700 million 10-year contract, so $70 million a year, but they've agreed to defer $68 million a year until after he's done playing baseball, which means he's making $2 million a year for the next 10 years. Why would he do this? Well, it helps the Dodgers in the short term, of course, but it keeps him from paying California taxes on $70 million a year over the next 10 years. He'll pay taxes on where he's living when he is paid that money, so he could move to Japan or Dubai or Florida or wherever and save a bunch of money on taxes rather than taking it all while he's living and playing in California.
Two things.
Who says that athletes are a bunch of dumb jocks? That might be one of the greatest, most awesome examples of someone who understands the tax code that I have ever heard of.
First of all,
my gosh.
He's not doing this by himself. He has people that are helping him see this perspective.
Of course.
Secondly, can we talk about Mr. Sinclair's perspective and spectrum on where he could live?
I love it.
He's like Dubai or Florida. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a big, pretty wide range there.
I'm telling you. Well, Dubai is the new bastion for real capitalism. It's really amazing. Having been over there recently, what I would say is the UAE, they are really emerging as a capitalist force. Right. I mean, if you're over there, they know a lot about oil. Obviously, they know a good about gold, and they know a little bit about real estate. But they are really a little ignorant, if you will, on a lot of the other world assets, and they want exposure. So those guys are really interesting. But what I thought about this is great, because think about it. Everyone always talks about, oh, well, you know, LeBron James makes blank amount of money, or Michael Jordan made blank amount of money, or whoever it is. I love that this guy says, you know, I can live off $2 million a year. I mean, it's okay. Like, you know, hey, you know, I'll scrimp for a little bit.
Right.
I'll scrimp for a little bit off $2 million a year, but then I'm going to be deferring $68 million a year. And interesting how this works, Heather. So, and I have not seen the contract, so I can neither confirm nor deny what may or may not be in said contract. And what it involves, and who with, and what interns may be around.
Do not have relations.
I did not do that in California. At that time, I was a resident of somewhere else. So, but I have no idea why I digressed. But that contract is amazing because if he defers all this money, and depending on how they've done it, if he were to relocate to a tax-free area like the Cayman Islands and or Singapore and or the UAE, ladies and gentlemen, they have 0% income taxation. None. Not one single iota. So if he was an American citizen, not only would he have to pay very egregious California taxes, which I think exceed 13% or 14% with their SALT taxes, which are state and local government taxes. On top of that, he would have to pay a federal rate, which right now the maximum is about 42%. People say, well, John, it's not 42. They have all these little add-ons and bells and whistles when you get to that highest 37% tax. They have the AII tax and this and that and this and that. It ends up being about 42%. So if he were to accept this contract, The way it is, if he were to be paid now, he would pay, let's say, 13% California tax plus 40% federal tax. That's 53% of his money going out the window. Doing it this way, not only is it genius, because what if he were to get hurt? Well, now he's going to have all that money for later. And by the way, who couldn't live off of $2 million a year outside of Paris Hilton and maybe the Kardashians?
Exactly.
Outside of them, come on, that's a flip ton of money.
Yep.
But I love it really because it's a deferral. It's a deferral for the future, because these baseball players, they can play longer in that sport than a lot of other ones, right? Like LeBron James is pushing 39 years old, and they're saying, hey, he's still playing really, really well, but how much more time does he have, right? We saw Tom Brady retire last year, I think at the age of 41. Tiger Woods just turned, I think, 48 this past. And of course, Tiger hasn't been exceedingly relevant for a few years. But when you think about baseball, he could play for a lot longer. But man, how nice will it be for him to basically have deferred almost $680 million of that $700 million contract and potentially pay no taxes? See, the craziest thing about it is we hear these stories and we think, well, that'll never be me. Well, to be perfectly honest, you're exactly right. It won't be me. It won't be probably anyone right now listening to the show. We're probably not going to get a $700 million contract.
Exactly.
But
so how can what can we learn from it? What can we do?
That's where I was going with that. That's where I was going. So the whole thing, though, is an exposure to that concept because it gets your attention, right?
Yep.
Lets us realize the things we can do, right? It lets us understand, because I hear this all the time. So if you're about to retire, you're thinking about retirement. Example, I had this conversation probably 20 times in the tail end of last year, where people were thinking about retiring maybe at the beginning of 2024 or whatever it was. And we were looking through it. They're like, well, John, when should I turn on Social Security? When should I do this? How can I expense this? How do we do this? And my question was, hey, could you potentially do some consulting work? Could you potentially earn a little money? Will your employer let you work only for deferred compensation? Because if we turn on Social Security, we can't escape a lot of the other parts of the tax code, right? But there are some really crazy, really important and shrewd tax planning things we can do if you might earn money in the form of deferred comp. Well, how do you do that, John? Well, if you were to say, hey, I want to make $25,000 a year consulting, but I'm going to start my own LLC and I'm going to do consulting work, but then you can expense all of your normal operations of doing that consulting work against that $25,000 a year. Things like what? I don't know. You need to ask your CPA, but a lot of your vehicle mileage, maybe a lot of your communication bills like cell phone, internet, things like that. Maybe home office deduction. Maybe you actually decide to work out of your lake home, so you could even deduct portions of your lake home if you work correctly and do these types of things. It opens the entire door of all kinds of things. And you could even create your own solo K, which is a one-person 401k, and potentially shelter every single one of those dollars if you wanted to in the form of deferral into your own 401k and maybe not pay a single dime in taxes, but then also not hurt your Social Security income. Guys, understanding the tax code it's more than a game. It is like a true MO for me, a mission objective. To understand the tax code really opens the entire world of things that you can do financially. When you look at why do companies spend money on private airplanes? Because there's no way if you say, hey, you can go commercial and fly first class to Florida for $1,000, round trip, or you could fly private for $28,000 for that same trip, right? The amazing thing is that why do they do it? Because there's so much other things you can do if you understand the tax structure. So corporations are different than us as individuals. But the biggest thing we can learn is what opportunities do you have? By the time you're quit working, you got all your money in the certain places, there's not a whole bunch that we can really do. But if you're getting closer to retirement and you're thinking, man, maybe I got a couple years left, or here's a big one. What if you're a small business owner? Or what if you are a physician that has a partnership practice, or an attorney who's in a partnership? There are so many things that you can literally do to keep the majority of that money in your accounts growing for you, for your future use. No different than Shohei, where he's like, okay, I'm going to defer a little bit this immediate gratification. I'm going to defer a little bit of this now so that I can get my tax stuff in order, so you can maybe keep 20 to 30% more in the back end. Guys, it's genius, right? Because if you think about what is retirement is not having to get up in the morning to work for a wage. That's all it is.
Right.
I mean, technically, you could be working for someone else right now and not have to get up in the morning. Well, you don't treat that like work, right?
Right.
Or maybe you own a company and all of your people that you employ, they do it all. You just kind of get to go in and see things as you want and relax and chill out, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. You probably don't even consider that work. But for the majority of us who get up every day and we realize, hey, it's not that I hate this. It's just I really one day I want my money to work for me so I can do what I want to do. Well, the easiest way to make more isn't even making more, is to hold on to more of what you've already made. Taxes allow us to do that. And if you think about it, what is on the hook? Well, last year, the stock market had a crazy awesome year, 23% up in 2023.
Yeah.
Crazy awesome year. Yeah. But think about it. If you are in the highest marginal tax rate, you'd have to give 40+% of that up to the government. Now it's no longer as good, right?
Right.
So if you could save yourself 20% a year in taxation, guys, it's almost like earning an extra 20% on your money. If you know that you have not been exploiting the tax code, if you're working with a CPA or your bookkeeper or your finance person and they do not understand the ways through the tax code, please call my staff today. Or go to our website at retirementsolutionradio.com. Let them know what you're thinking about, what you want to have done so they can help you look at that low-hanging fruit. Sometimes it doesn't take a tremendous amount of effort to make a major long-term benefit. So call my team, find out about that tax structure, and put yourself in the right place. Even though we may not have a $700 million contract, I promise you, keeping an extra 5 or 6 or 7 or 10% in your pocket will make a huge difference in the long run.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Inc. is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. It does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Jonathan Hicks, insurance license number 548962.